Good morning and welcome to the latest in our NCP Digital Family Office series of podcasts. Before we get started, just a quick disclaimer that nothing you are about to hear today is investment advice. We encourage you to talk to your own investment advisor and make sure that whatever ideas you have or we put forward are appropriate for you. I would like to have the pleasure of introducing my guest today, and joining us all the way from Dubai in the UAE is Michael Chu. I have known Mike for 15, 20 years as we were colleagues at another firm many years ago. Our paths diverged, but occasionally come back together. But maybe Mike, I'll just give you a couple of minutes to introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about your move to Dubai and your progression there, and really, about how easy and difficult it was to do there, and the job opportunities, and just give us the overview.
Yeah, thanks, Russ, and thanks. Like Russ mentioned, we've known each other 15, 20 years. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. We're working at a different firm. And more recently, I've been in the UAE for just over 11 years now. So this is definitely home. The transition, I came over with HSBC. At the time, was looking for opportunities within the group. And being from Victoria, I guess the natural progression was looking over to Vancouver, maybe Toronto. And then I had a colleague just mention, it's like, well, you're with HSBC. It's the world's local bank. Why don't you go somewhere exotic like Hong Kong or Singapore? And that seemed so foreign that I just dismissed it. And he said, at the time I was single, no kids. He said, the world's your oyster. Just go explore. And I don't know, maybe being from Victoria, being the nicest place in Canada, I really didn't want to leave Victoria. But then I had that every time I went to travel, I had that itch that there is more to the world than just lovely Victoria. So and then I started considering different options, and Hong Kong and Singapore were on the list. But then at the time, I think this was 2011, 2012, Dubai popped up on the radar as the financial center of the Middle East. And there's a lot of activity. This is post GFC, so things were just starting to come back around, and then started looking at different opportunities. So Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai was on the list, and managed to find myself a position in Dubai, and came over with HSBC. Was an advisor, was there for a few years, and then moved on to Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank, one of the larger local banks in the UAE, and was there on the investment team for about just under 4 years, and then joined a multifamily office, a European multifamily office, and was overseeing their investments. And that was probably up until about a year ago, and then just recently joined Sarwa, which is the region's largest and most mature digital wealth platform. So similar to your Wealthsimple, Nutmeg, or something like that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And I guess we should add in that along this journey of getting into a new country, new environment, new jobs, all that kind of stuff, you actually managed to do your CFA at the same time.
Yes, in the earlier part. I would definitely highly recommend anyone that's watching this to try to get it done earlier on in your career. Definitely don't do it and don't leave it till later, because the material is ridiculously hard. It's technical, but it's the time commitment that really gets to you. And I'm not gonna judge you, Russ, but you may be able to relate. as we get
Yes.
older, the brain is
Yeah.
not the sponge it used to be.
Yeah.
If you have any ambitions to do anything like that, you do it while you still can, or else it gets infinitely harder when you get older.
Yeah.
That,
Yes.
that's because our brains fill up with trivial facts that we can't get rid of.
Absolutely.
Believe me. Yes. Yes. Um, if you're playing Trivial Pursuit, you'll want me on your team for certain things, but not for others. Don't get me on asking questions on arts and culture. Uh, now, our focus, understandably, is financial services,
Hmm.
um, and that's where we all have our careers. And I think a lot of people look at uh, Dubai, aside from the energy side of it, is a financial hub. But what else drives the economy in Dubai? We look at as a city state, and I know you're going to correct me there, but how does it compare to other city states such as Singapore and Hong Kong?
Yeah. So a lot of people kind of assume Dubai is a city state like Singapore or Hong Kong, but in reality, it's part of the UAE, which is the United Arab Emirates, and it's made up of 7 emirates. So similar to provinces, each emirate is ruled by a ruling family, and Dubai is just one of 7. Abu Dhabi is the other, and then there's 5 others. So they function like provinces, but they're all under the federal rule of the UAE, which is governed and ruled by the Abu Dhabi family.
Okay.
So in that sense, there is a lot of autonomy. So Dubai does have certain different rules in how they manage their city. That was really evident during COVID lockdowns. Abu Dhabi was quite conservative and very strict about this. So even moving between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, you were required to have a PCR test before
Hmm.
crossing over that, I guess, provincial border.
Yep.
And that being said, because Dubai's economy is actually driven a lot by trade, wholesale, retail trading activities, transportation. Emirates Airlines is one of the largest employers in the region, and it is a travel hub, a global travel hub. So, as you can imagine, if there were any kind of long-term hard lockdowns during COVID, it would have been really disastrous for Emirates. Tourism plays a big part of the economy here, but a lot of it is the services, financial services, and Dubai does have some oil and gas, but that's mainly in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think you'd mentioned, and I didn't know that it's also a producer of aluminum in the
Yep.
UAE. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe UAE produces just behind Canada in terms of global aluminum production.
Okay. Cool. Did not know that.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we could be a net benefiter of these tariffs that the US imposes on Canada. Maybe the UAE will slide in there and
Yeah.
start exporting
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. I think that the steel and aluminum tariffs are global, though. So we're all in the same boat on that one.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll
That's
we'll
good.
have to get the smelters going again inside our own countries.
Yep.
Um, just changing gears a little bit.
Hmm.
How hard is it to set up shop as an expat? Say somebody wanted to go over there and establish their own financial services company for. We'll use that as as an example. What's the regulatory burden like? Taxes, things like that.
So you pick the sector that's probably the one of the hardest and most regulated sectors,
And
financial
probably the most
services.
and probably the most competitive as well.
Yes, it is. To be a regulated firm, there are essentially 2 free zones. In the UAE, there's multiple free zones. They're kind of like special economic zones that have slightly different rules aside from onshore UAE. So a lot of foreign companies will operate in these free zones. One of the big benefits of these free zones is 100% foreign ownership, whereas if you're an onshore entity in the UAE, you are required to have a local partner.
Right.
So that's one of the big differentiators. So in financial services, to be a regulated firm, there are two free zones. One is in Dubai, the Dubai International Financial Center, and then in Abu Dhabi, which is the Abu Dhabi Global Markets. And these are essentially two of the regulated free zones that financial services companies, asset managers, or hedge funds would want to set up in. And obviously, there's different classes of licensing that you can go through. But if you wanted to set up, say, an advisory firm, you would want to be set up in one of these two free zones.
Yeah.
Not too difficult to set up. You just obviously would have the requirements for the regulatory capital and go through with the regulated application process and be approved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming from developed Western country, often one of the drivers to move these places, whether it's Cayman or BVI or something like that, is taxes. What's the tax burden like? Is it driven by income taxes or is it more of a VAT?
So there is VAT that was introduced a few years ago, 5%. VAT.
That would be GST to our Canadian listeners. Yes.
Yeah. 5% GST.
Yeah.
And then in 23, they introduced corporate tax.
Okay.
Of 9%.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's always taxes, not onerous, but they're there.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are other ways you pay fees, rent renewal fees, utility fees. There's little add-ons here and there, but it's definitely not as onerous as you would pay in Canada.
Yeah. So yeah. There's corporate tax, but no personal income tax. Yeah.
Knock on wood, not yet.
Not yet.
Well, I think officially they say there is income tax, but it's an income tax rate of 0.
Okay.
I think as the country develops, it's honestly almost just a matter of time before they implement something.
Yeah.
All the consultants, have been saying as countries develop, they will implement some kind of personal tax. As long as it's manageable.
Reasonable. Yeah.
Reasonable. We have great infrastructure that needs to be paid for. Roads are great. It's safe.
Yeah.
I don't mind paying for these things if they're providing services.
Yeah.
Like, and you would be absolutely amazed at how quickly highway overpass gets built. Major roadworks gets done, within 6 months, 8 months.
Yeah.
So there's a price to be paid.
Yes.
I mean, the UAE, when they put their mind to getting some of these mega projects done, they will just get done. Yeah.
Where do most of the expats working in the UAE come from? Is there an overrepresentation of, I'm kind of in my mind thinking India, but other areas?
I think still a large component of the expat population is from the Indian subcontinent. So you have India, Pakistan, they probably make up a large component of that. And then you have the other Arab expats from the region, and then Western expats. And we're seeing a lot more Chinese expats coming through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the European expat, but still.
Yeah. So pretty good mix, very multicultural.
Very multicultural. If you came to visit, you walk through a mall, it would be like going through a mall in Vancouver or Toronto. It's
Yeah.
super multicultural.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. We'll change gears again. Um, you're now part of a fintech, which is no longer a startup,
Yep.
from what you're saying. Now, I've been part of tech startups in Canada. It can be really hard to get them off the ground. VC funding being, in my mind, the biggest challenge. What's the VC ecosystem like, and what's the risk appetite of investors in Dubai?
It's kind of ebb and flowed a bit, but we're definitely seeing a lot more interest in the VC space.
Hmm.
There are incubators for different tech companies, fintech companies. I think the government's really promoting innovation, tech innovation, fintech. So there are specialized hubs for this.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure if there's government incentives still, but there were at one point. But private investors, firms, family offices are quite keen to invest in the startup space.
Hmm.
They're not just randomly throwing money at projects.
Yeah.
It's quite
Fairly.
competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fairly sophisticated on the investor side. Yeah.
Yes.
What's the IP protection like?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So I didn't mention both of those financial free zones are they have their legal framework around English common law.
Okay.
So most of the IP would probably be, linked to one of those free zones. If
Yeah.
there's a dispute resolution, they would say, we want it governed by the DIFC courts or the AGGM courts.
Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the uh, talent pool, pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very competitive.
Yeah.
We're seeing mass influx of talent coming through. I mean, if you can imagine,
Yeah.
Europe's got its challenges, inflation.
Hmm.
Canada's got its challenges with inflation. We have more Americans coming through because of the challenges through the US. So in the
Yeah.
past, the UAE was kind of a place where you kind of thought to go to. You maybe got a salary boost for hardship pay or anything, but
Yeah.
now we're seeing a lot more people interested in coming to UAE because of the, career opportunities,
Yeah.
the diverse economy, and the big thing is safety.
Yeah.
Huge thing that I really didn't take into consideration too much,
Yeah.
but it's a big thing now.
Yeah. 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 Coming from sleepy, safe Victoria, it's not something that's really top of your mind, and then you start talking
Well,
to people coming from other parts of the world, and you think, yeah, okay.
so Sleepy Safe Victoria used to be safe,
Yeah.
but downtown core of Victoria does not feel as safe as it used to.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems most parts of Canada are kind of following that trend, and same with big cities in the US.
Yeah. 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 It is a trend, not just in Canada. We've seen it
Hmm.
other places, and you'll see it in Europe in some places as well. So yeah, we
Yep.
don't need to dwell on that though. Just
Nope.
but we will note that it's it's a pretty safe city to hang out in. Yeah.
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 I mean, similar to Singapore, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
You mentioned that.
Yeah.
Well regulated, rule of law applies, people obey rules,
Yeah. Yeah.
respect authority, and
Yeah.
just, get on with life, work
Yeah.
hard, play hard.
Yeah. 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 Tell us a bit more about Sarwa. You've been there for a year now?
No,
Oh,
actually,
six.
I joined
No, it's not. 6
6 months-ish.
months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So you're the new guy, but tell us a bit. What does it do? How's it differentiating itself in the marketplace?
No, so we're a digital wealth platform.
Yeah.
So everything is online. Like most robo-advisory / automated investment platforms, we started off with model portfolios, ETF-based model portfolios. Clients would just sign up to the app, go through their
Yeah.
risk profile questionnaire, and then get assigned a portfolio. We've since evolved to being more of an advisor-led proposition where we still have clients that go through an automated journey, but we have some advisors on staff to kind of work through the process, to work on some financial planning with them,
Yeah.
and then developing solutions to that. We also have a pure brokerage solution where clients are self-directed. They can trade their US equities, options, ETFs, and crypto.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're in the process of expanding the investment solutions to incorporate some model portfolios that are a blend of active and passive, and then introduce some private market exposure to some private equity, venture
Yeah.
capital, and private credit through different asset managers and funds.
Yeah. So trying to
Mhm.
build more of an endowment model along the
Yeah.
Yale, et cetera, lines that would
Yeah.
incorporate the non-correlated alternative asset classes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So a lot of our higher net worth clients, they've kind of grown with the platform over the
Yeah.
past 7 or 8 years, and most banks, private banks in the region, are offering more sophisticated products. So we're just adding those to our investment solutions so that clients have the opportunity to stay with us instead of
Yeah.
venturing off to a competitor
Yeah.
where they may
Yeah.
not have transparent or fair fees, and they may not be treated as well as they are with Sarwa.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a fair amount of competition on the fee side? And we're seeing a limited amount. I'd say a limited amount of competition on fees in North America. They do tend to be a little bit sticky. I mean, have definitely come down, but probably not down to say U.S. levels at this point.
Yeah, so the wealth market here is still quite nascent. Fee-based advisory is still relatively new.
Hmm.
So a lot of firms, a lot of banks they still do charge upfront commissions.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That seems anachronistic coming from this side of the world, but
yes.
it's always a journey. Yeah.
Yes, quite
Yeah.
foreign. I mean, I'm not sure when the last time we spoke about, the change. I believe when we were working at the same firm, that was already well into the phases that most advisors moving to a fee-based model already.
Yeah. 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 I actually started moving there in the 1990s, which maybe says how old I am.
Yes.
The old
Yeah.
guy says.
So yeah,
Um,
it's definitely different. It's
yeah,
it's moving. Every market has to develop at its own pace.
yeah, yeah. The the relative sophistication of the client base, are they, and I'm sure it varies, from city to city to region, whether you're in Canada, the US, Europe.
Mhm.
Um, do you service like a wide range from just start me out basic couple of ETFs, fixed income, to more of a institutional type client?
Yep. So the range is quite wide.
Yeah.
Like you said, starter investor, never invested before, just getting started. So we're probably the ideal platform for a new investor that's never
Yeah.
invested before. They can just get started.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter what wealth level you are, you can get started, and we make the journey as easy as possible. We
Yeah.
almost, I mean, the app is more powerful than our website, so everything you can do on the app, from
Yeah.
complete onboarding, you just download the app, go through client onboarding, KYC, upload your documents, take a picture, and you will literally have your account opened the
Yeah.
same day.
Yeah.
And then we do have our more sophisticated clients that have grown with us, or have really been maybe at different institutions and not had a great experience. Now they're looking for a digitally enabled solution that gives them
Hmm.
everything they want.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big things that we're quite privileged to be in a position that we've started with a digital platform and now we're building out the investment capabilities, whereas other institutions had the investment capabilities and they're
Right.
trying to digitize.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine how difficult that is to bring a large old bank
Yeah.
to the future, essentially.
Yeah. 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 Well, I
So
mean, that's one of the challenges the Canadian banks always had was the backbone of the systems was working off of old mainframe computers, and
mhm.
it was a huge. I mean, to change the infrastructure was a huge undertaking. When you start from scratch, you don't have that legacy to worry about.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you can leapfrog tech
Yes.
to just skip through different phases.
Yeah.
Um, that kind of goes back to investors. So certain investors, when in the region, there are some ones that are starting out. What's really popular with a lot of investors in the region for the longest time is income solutions.
Yeah.
They just like to receive a coupon, a dividend, or a combination of both. Obviously, it's tax neutral jurisdictions,
Yeah.
so usually net of any kind of withholding tax, you're receiving a pretty
Yeah.
healthy distribution. And then there are more sophisticated clients, wealthier family office type clients that will be, like your institutional clients, where
Yeah.
they're looking at direct co-investment, direct deals, working alongside the different sovereigns.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's quite a diverse investor landscape here.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're at this point in a position to provide services for pretty close to the full spectrum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So being in Dubai, we're very fortunate because most of the asset managers will be visiting the sovereigns in the region, the
Yeah.
Dubai sovereigns, Abu Dhabi sovereigns. So almost every single hedge fund stops by, every alternative asset manager, every asset
Yeah.
manager you could think of makes a pit stop in the
Yeah.
UAE.
Yeah.
So we're definitely not short of choice.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, but I've actually seen a few Canadian asset managers come through.
Yeah. Yeah. And um, well, everybody follows the money.
Yep,
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
fault them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll stop by.
Yes, you're due for a trip and a
I
visit.
am. Yes, I am. I am definitely due for a trip. Yeah. Um, we've I guess, so final thoughts, some final thoughts here. We can't really ignore what's emanating from the White House and the US right now. It's pretty hard to ignore. Um, how's Dubai and the UAE riding this out? Is it more connected to Asia and Europe that insulates it, or um, because it's obviously big in Canada, existential in some
Yep.
minds? So yeah.
So I think UAE is in a pretty good spot in terms of global trade.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, oil and aluminum are one of the largest exports, and that's kind of determined by global demand. So I guess the worst fear that can come out of this is that these tariffs really have a hard effect on the global economy, slowing everything down,
Hmm.
and that will just slow down oil demand, aluminum, and all other trade, transportation. That would be not good for the
Yeah.
region at all.
No,
I
or
mean,
or anybody else. So I mean, it's not like you don't see it being put at any particular disadvantage
no, no real
comparably to the rest of the world.
yeah. Um, Yeah, I can't see us. No, not being disadvantaged, and maybe slight advantage being situated where we are. We may have other trading partners that could pick
Yeah,
up excess supply, but again, it's quite. Um, I guess it's kind of like Calgary. It's like boom and bust.
yeah,
When oil prices are down in the dumps, the region is not happy.
yeah,
You see a lot of projects slowing down, spending
yeah,
cuts. When oil's trading at a decent price, then everyone's kind of happy. The large corporates are
yeah,
happy, the large oil producers are happy. So it's similar. I mean, Canada, Calgary is very similar.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Every resource-based economy has the same issues of cyclicality. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And I think the UAE, especially Dubai, is trying to diversify into services,
yeah,
trading, transportation services. There's a big push for service-based economy, similar to like your Singapore, where they have
yeah,
zero resources
yeah,
and they've had to really build up their service economy.
yeah, yeah. The Singapore is big on refining. So UAE refineries are just a raw product being shipped.
I'm pretty sure they refine that
Okay.
part. I'm not entirely. I'm pretty sure they do. I,
Well,
I guess
sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
one thing we didn't really touch on, but you kind of talked about how easy it is to set up as an expat. One thing a lot of expats that do come to Dubai, the UAE, even though they forget, even though it's a tax-free country, there really isn't a real pension system set up for
Yeah,
expats.
yeah,
So when we're talking about financial services, this is one aspect that a lot of expats miss out on because they you have to do it yourself.
yes,
And Russ, you can attest to that.
yeah,
It's like pulling teeth to get investors to realize and start planning, um, their financial future. It doesn't
yeah,
matter if you're just starting or you're quite wealthy. It's just getting to that process to map things out. So this is one of the challenges a lot of expats face because there's a lot of opportunity to spend your money and you
hmm
can do a lot with tax-free income.
yeah,
And then when they realize that it's time to start thinking about what retirement looks like, it's probably almost too late.
yeah,
So this is the big challenge a lot of expats face. And there's a lot of different firms that are not as reputable that still sell some contractual savings plans, whole of life
yeah,
plans
yeah,
to entice these unknowing expats
yeah,
into saving for their retirement, and then they get
yeah,
trapped into these programs. So yeah, it's still coming along, but
yeah,
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 expats do have to be aware that pension reform is coming through, but it's not quite where it is in other parts like Canada or in Europe. So
yeah,
so it's all do it yourself and
yeah,
manage your retirement savings that way.
yeah, yeah. And healthcare, much the same, self-insured.
Companies have to provide that.
Yeah,
So it's private healthcare companies. When you're hired, they will
it's part of the
put you on.
package. Yeah,
Yeah. So there is no well, not for expats anyways. There's no
yeah,
government healthcare.
right.
Education, it's all private education as well.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
you have a wide range from not that expensive to very expensive.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, moving here, if any of ones watching and listening to consider it, the transition is fairly easy. First few
Yeah.
months just take some time. You're in a new
Yeah.
country, things are different, process is different. But once you get through that 3 to 6 months and you have everything set up, it's pretty easy. Life's not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds good. Well, congrats on that move 11 years ago.
Yes.
So happy to see you have thrived and done well and in a happy spot. So we'll do our official sign off here. Thanks everybody else for watching. Thanks Mike for joining us, and thanks Sam for pitching in.
Thank you so much, and
Thank
we'll
you.
chat soon.
Yes, we will. Okay, thanks
Okay.
everybody.